Paxten Aaronson to Colorado, long ball number 2 in quite a surprising move too. I think it was pretty funny the quote that came out there is the media was coming at Paxten Aaronson in that press conference, airing their puzzlement as to why he would come back. He's got a promise, would you call promising young career over on the continent over there in Europe. I mean, didn't necessarily melt the world with stats or anything like that. Got some appearances, got some loans out, but he comes back to Colorado. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, Rob, I apologize. I have to stop the flow here. I'm going to throw up some visual aids for you. This is Paxten Aaronson's quotes from his press conference yesterday. I'm being screamed at by a sick 4-year-old upstairs, so I need to step away for a moment and see what's going on with this. But feel free to pad and maybe take me off the screen, and when I'm back, I'll jump right back in after I check on what's going on with this young man who's screaming at me bloody murder upstairs. So go ahead, jump in, give some thoughts.
So Paxten Aaronson, a young American, been abroad for a couple of years, and he breaks his transfer in breaks Colorado's transfer record here. Jenny, you want to come into here and give your take a little bit. Paxten Aaronson, American international, only a few. He's peripheral in the American international squad, coming from Eintracht Frankfurt, coming to the Colorado side, who are trying to seemingly put together a core of Americans there. What's your take on this young man who looked like he was, building a career over in Europe, but kind of takes the money and comes to Colorado?
Well, from a Colorado Rapids perspective, this is great. This is a young American star player, the type of player that they would need to not only improve their squad, but possibly attract some fans to come down to Aurora, Colorado, to watch those games. I'm still confused as to why Paxten Aaronson is doing this. I understand he has not been getting a lot of playing time with Eintracht Frankfurt. He's been there for 2 seasons, 14 appearances. He's been out on loan, spent some time in the Eredivisie. I guess it's more of a case of he's not going anywhere in Europe. He wants to go somewhere where he can play, but I feel like he's kind of losing out on a European development experience that kind of date myself here a little bit, brought him back to what I thought about when Jordan Morris refused to sign in Germany. I think he's hampering his career a little bit here by sticking with MLS, and in this case, going back to MLS.
All right, I'm back.
Hopefully everything's all right there.
Everything's fine. I want to jump in. Thank you to Jenny for stepping in. I want to jump in here because she said some things I want to respond to. All right, so I put up on the screen another quote from Paxten. He made a big deal. This is from Burgundy Wave. By the way, go and read Burgundy Wave, covering the Colorado Rapids for years now. Paxten Aaronson made a big deal of being closer to family back in the U.S. Dad has an office in Denver. He emphasized being in the locker room of American guys, likes being with others trying to break into the U.S. men's national team, likes the style of play. All right, so
he feels he's on this level, huh?
Look, and I'll throw this up here from Mike Thomas, a Philadelphia Union fan who obviously has paid very close attention to Paxten Aaronson. Is he allowed to feel that way? Right? I understand what Jenny's saying. Like, he's probably stopping his development on some level, and this is what caused the U.S. men's national team fan-focused freak out when this got announced. Now, some people are putting that on the Rapids and on MLS. How dare you entice a young American player back with big money and blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't do that. That's a hostile act and all. That's nonsense, by the way. MLS teams should act in their best interest, period, regardless of what it means for the U.S. men's national team. They are not, as much as MLS has kind of attached itself to the U.S. men's national team and tried to use the momentum of the national team and built their own reputation off success of players from MLS in the national team. MLS team should act independently of the U.S. men's national team and not do things just to benefit that team. So I don't have any issue with Colorado spending money on Paxten Aaronson if they think he's worth it. And Jenny said he obviously goes to Eintracht Frankfurt, and I had plenty of conversations with people at Eintracht Frankfurt who said, we love the kid. We think he's going to be very good. We like his development. Now, maybe they're just being nice to the American journalist. That's very possible. But I think we all had a sense he was going to make it. He goes to Utrecht on loan, And this is the number. So again, I'm cribbing off of Burgundy Wave here, who posted this to their X account yesterday. This is the FB ref rather profile of Paxten Aaronson, not Brendan, Paxten Aaronson, and it's comparing. You can see it at the bottom there, compared to players from similar leagues, next 14 competitions. Those numbers, non-penalty goals, non-penalty XG, shots. Look at those percentiles, Rob. 98, 96, 96. Look at his non-penalty goals, non-penalty expected goals plus expected assists, right? 89%. I know we're going a little deep here, but progressive carries, touches. He looks better, to the point of the Burgundy Wave account. Shout out to Matt Pollard. It's probably him. He looks better right now than Djordje Mihailovic did coming back from the same league, like significantly better. Now, does that justify the price tag? I would argue that a major part of the price tag is that you have to pay a premium for whatever I'm going to do it again. Whatever Paxten Aaronson said about playing with American guys and wanting to be close to home and all that stuff. You definitely have to pay a premium to get a player out of Europe if they have a European option. And the reports are that several clubs in Europe were asking about Paxten. So I don't know exactly why there's blame to throw around here. Like, did Colorado pay too much? Well, first of all, that remains to be seen. Second of all, no, if there was no other way to get him in, and they really think he's the guy. Now, I did the Best Soccer Show last night, and I talked to Jonathan Tannewald, who covers the Philadelphia Union and knows Paxten and has talked to him many times. And what he said was he was distressed by the fact that Colorado was spending all of the Djordje Mihailovic money on one player rather than spreading it out a bit to put a better team together. So can you call this ambition? Can you call this Colorado taking a big move, or is this just putting all of their eggs in one basket and hoping it works?
Do you think some of that money comes directly from the new mechanisms from the cash trades? So they were Colorado able to sell Djordje Mihailovic to Toronto. Say they had a little cash in their pockets from that. Maybe
this is what I'm saying. They took the Djordje money and spent it on Paxten Aaronson. And again, go read Burgundy Wave, because in their story on Paxten coming to Colorado and on some of the comments he made in that press conference, they identify that, this is exactly what the team was thinking. Djordje wanted out, so they found a place for Djordje to land, and they made a significant amount of money off that sale when Toronto said, yes, we'll take him, right? And then because they needed somebody else, they went, okay, well, what's our next move? Well, maybe Paxten Aaronson will come back to Major League Soccer, and again, they're paying a premium on him, but he's also 4 years younger than Djordje Mihailovic. And his profile in the same league that Djordje came from when he returned to MLS is better. It doesn't mean it's a home run, right? And the jury is still out on Paxten Aaronson. But I do think that this kind of makes sense for all parties if you consider the personal side of it from Paxten Aaronson.
I'm curious what total success for this transfer looks like. What does Paxten Aaronson have to do to justify that? And because you're understandably having to slip with Brendan Aronson, another figure in the pool. It's wild. Kind of like a year and a half ago, it did look like the ceiling was maybe higher for Paxten there for a brief moment when Brendan was down in the championship with Leeds, and Rob, Paxten was doing well with.
How much of that was just a vacuum, right? Just of course. And that's what we do. We take a player who hasn't done anything yet, and we build them up into some, fantastic superstar in the making that's going to break into the net. Now, occasionally it does happen, right? There's a Christian Pulisic every now and then, but in the case of Paxten Aaronson, nothing is guaranteed. Even if he stays in Europe, there's no guarantee that he becomes the player that some people want him to be, or reaches a level that means he's a national team starter or a regular or a World Cup player. And in fact, I definitely think you can argue that making this move, becoming the man in Colorado. Now, I wonder about the team around him for sure, but becoming the man in Colorado and carrying that burden, that could actually make him more attractive as a player for the national team in the near future for Mauricio Pochettino and his staff.
Yeah, puts together a bunch of high quality performances, and he definitely not out of Pochettino's choices, as he's definitely picked MLS players in his tenure so far.